That's it?
One of the best lessons I've learned working in kitchens is to always look at ingredients differently. It doesn't matter if it's something that you've known all your life. Training your brain to think this way will help you discover new uses or techniques that you never thought were possible, even with the most familiar of ingredients. When I moved to Indonesia, I learned about a native ingredient called Kluwak. It's a fascinating nut from the pungi tree because when fresh, it's poisonous with cyanide. I was told that locals in Java make it safe to eat by burying it underground and fermenting it for about a month. This technique causes the cyanide to seep out and the white poisonous flesh becomes black and edible. The Javanese then use this pliable, meat-like pulp in a famous dish called rawan. What does kluwak taste like? It's used more for its flavor than texture, and the best I can describe it as is like what mushrooms add to a dish, a flavor of umami and earthiness with a hint of nuttiness. I never doubted that fermentation was the only way to extract the poison. I thought, if that's how the locals do it, then it must be the only way. But I should have known better. There is never only one way. Far from Java, locals in Toraja, South Sulawesi proved me completely wrong.
Welcome to Tana, Toraja.
In Toraja, locals are renowned for their elaborate funeral rituals. Even though their official religion is Christianity, villagers still practice animistic traditions that predate their conversion. For example, when a loved one passes away, the family preserves the body and keeps them in the house until they are ready to have their pesta, or burial. Coffins are then placed inside of caves or large stones, and each August the bodies are exhumed to be washed, have a change of clothes, and walked around the village. After their burial, a wood-carved effigy is placed on cliff sides that overlook Toraja for eternity.
You are? Dang it!
When a fellow cook and friend, Ermi, and I embarked on a trip to Toraja, I was familiar with their culture, but I knew nothing about their cuisine. What was it like? Was it similar to what I'd been eating in Makassar? Was it spicy? Was it light? Was it heavy? I had no idea. After eating lunch at a local warung, I discovered Torajan cuisine was like nothing I had ever eaten before in Indonesia. Ermi and I wanted to learn more, so we asked the owner, Tante Lina, if we could spend time in her kitchen. She agreed, and the next morning we joined her at the market. As I began to survey the local produce, there was something I didn't recognize, but was available with almost every single seller. It was dried and looked like mushrooms, but upon closer inspection, it was not. Next to it would be a sack of what looked to be black soil, but I knew it could not be. What was this? Kluwak. Ermi and I looked at each other. How could that be? We already knew about kluwak and had both cooked with it. Even Ermi, an Indonesian with South Sulawesi roots, had never seen this before.
Oh my god, there's so many.
Tante Lina explained that in Toraja, they use the entire fruit in their cuisine. The pangi fruit, sometimes called football fruit because of its shape and size, can hold up to 12 to 14 kluwak nuts. There is flesh that surrounds the interior perimeter of the fruit, as well as around each individual nut. When it comes to the fruit, they peel it and let it dry. Because there are two versions, they vary in texture and price. Locals say that the outer fruit is like a vegetable, which is more cheap, and the inner fruit is like meat, which is more expensive. For the nut, instead of fermenting it underground like the Javanese, Torajans extract the white meat and let it dry in the sun until it turns black, a process that takes roughly 3 to 4 days. After it is black, they pound it in their mortar and pestle until it becomes a soft and fluffy powder to be sold.
Hi, Crystal.
In the form of a powder, Kluwak is then easily incorporated into dishes like pamarasan and papayong. As I observed, this tante would add a touch of water to the powder in order to shape it into balls as a way of measurement, and then into bowls containing pig's blood. Pamarasan is a dish characterized by its braising liquid, made black by the Kluwak powder. Any kind of meat can be braised, such as fish or pork, and the dried pangi fruit is often added to provide more texture. Papayong is a famous Torajan dish where Kluwak powder is added to leaves, locally called bulu nangko, and chopped meat. This mixture is combined by hand, portioned into banana leaves, and stuffed into bamboo tubes, which are then roasted. This experience in Toraja proved how worthwhile it is to travel across Indonesia to discover more about local uses of produce. What one village does with one ingredient is completely different from another village on the other side of the country. Like I said, we need to see ingredients differently, although not only in the kitchen as I thought, but also where we live.